Roronoa Zoro. A simple guy with a big dream who is just effortlessly cool. His character is actually the reason why I started to take an interest in One Piece in the first place. So I thought, because we haven't seen him in a while, for this top 5, we are going to honour the Straw Hat Swordsman and take a look at some of his greatest moments in the series. So let's go ahead and begin. Welcome to the top 5 best Zoro moments. Number 5. The Underwater Battle. Remember that time when the arc antagonist had the misfortune of running into Zoro, and Zoro almost ended the entire arc in one cut? I do, quite vividly. Yeah, Hody was never a very strong villain, and it's likely that just about any Straw Hat could have beaten him with little effort, but this fight had the added awesomeness of being underwater. Not only that, it was Zoro who chose to take the fight underwater. He could have just let Hody do whatever he wanted and retreat for the meantime, but no. The human swordsman simply decided to hold his breath and fight then and there. And of course it only takes a matter of seconds for Zoro to completely wreck him. The only reason why the arc didn't end then and there is because Zoro ran out of breath. Still, a fantastically badass effort by the Straw Hat Swordsman. Number 4. Striker Pose. So early on in the series, Zoro with Vivi and Nami got stuck on a wax cake that threatened to gradually freeze them in wax and kill them via asphyxiation. Of course, this fate was quite unacceptable to our swordsman, who has a grand dream to accomplish. So he posited the idea of cutting off his own feet to free himself from the wax. And he would do exactly that. Well, not exactly. He got about halfway through before Luffy came to the rescue, but still halfway, ow. But then while Luffy battled Mr. 3, Zoro came to another fantastic decision, and decided that if he was going to become a statue, then he wanted a cool pose. So he unsheathed his sword and struck a pose worthy of a great swordsman. This whole situation is just classic textbook Zoro. Legs stuck, cut off legs. Going to become a statue? Become a badass statue. Number 3. I got on the wrong ship. So Zoro has never been known for his sense of direction, but it usually just gets used as a gag. In this case, his abysmal sense of direction was used as his reintroduction after the 2-year time skip. Zoro just kind of jumps aboard a random ship heading to Fishman Island, assuming that it was the Sunny, and realizes on the journey down that, shock, this is not the case. So what's the next logical step? Well, if you said slice the entire ship in half and float to the surface, you would be correct. And hey, you know what? It works, so let's give him that and stop judging him. It sure does beat waiting for the rest of the crew on Fishman Island, even if you essentially crushed the dreams and careers of an entire crew because of your own personal fault. Number 2. Nothing at all. This is one of the greatest defining character moments of any Straw Hat member. After the battle with Moria and the arrival of Bartholomew Kuma, only 2 crew members are left able to stand, Sanji and Zoro, both of whom are ready and willing to sacrifice their lives for the rest of the crew. But Zoro takes the initiative, knocks out Sanji, and proceeds to receive all of the pain and exhaustion Luffy incurred in the fight against Moria. And let's be clear, Moria certainly isn't the best enemy, but he was a very tough fight for Luffy at the time, so we're talking some serious damage here. On top of that, Zoro had already suffered his own serious wounds, so taking on Luffy's pain on top of that is almost certainly opening the door to death. But he does it. Not only that, but he thrusts himself into it gladly. And when the crew finally awakens, they find Zoro standing victoriously, although barely alive, in a pool of his own blood. When they ask what happened, he simply replies, nothing at all. Really doesn't get much more boss than this. Well, actually maybe it does. Number 1. Shishi Sonson. Zoro vs Mr. 1 is one of my all-time favourite fights in One Piece. As a swordsman, Zoro is just so perfectly mismatched against an opponent who can become steel. For 99% of the fight, not a single attack yields any decent results. So with his life on the line, Zoro has to teach himself how to cut steel, and he needs to do it pretty damn quickly. Eventually he does reach an epiphany and creates a signature technique, Shishi Sonson, Lion Song, which defeats Mr. 1 in a single strike. It's a fantastic example of how to give a character a power-up during battle but make it feel earned and not cheap. Zoro almost died to learn this particular skill because he knew that there was no way he could become the world's greatest swordsman if he couldn't even cut steel. It was a glorious moment, and I think a very worthy number 1. And that about does it for the top 5 Zoro moments. If you enjoyed this video, then please feel free to like, favourite or subscribe, and please do comment with your favourite Zoro moments. This has been the Grand Line Review. and I'll see you next time.